So we know that when we're doing this, the first thing we're going to do is, and I'm going to use, this might be a bad choice. Let's use orange because that'll work. So the first thing I have to do is I have to draw the rectangle in the middle of my page. And if we look at what's going on this screen, it's kind of like a rectangle like this. And you know, some rectangles are longer and skinnier. This one's, let's say this one's about the same. It's a little bit just longer than a square. So here's my rectangle in the middle of my page. And this pretty much closely mirrors what we got going on there. Now my drawings will be upside down, and we're going to do that today. We're going to make them upside down. Okay, so I have my rectangle. Let's see if I can square that up. And the first thing I know that in the middle of that rectangle pretty much is this bird, right? Now, if I want to be really crazy about this, I can position things even better by, if I cut my rectangle in half right here, and I'm going to put down a light line right there. And then if I cut my rectangle in half right here, and I'm going to put this like this. And today I'm going to split my page just a little bit differently. I'm going to go from corner to corner, because right now what I'm doing is I'm just laying guidelines down, and it really doesn't matter if I use triangles or if I use the squares to grid this off, as long as these lines match the lines that are on my paper or on my regular image. It makes a difference. Now, if we're looking at this right now, the lines that I want to pay attention to, the intersections are right. It's not helpful, is it? The intersections are right here and right here, right here, and right here. So if I look at my lines from here, this one is right about here, that top one. The side one is over here, and the bottom one is right about in the middle of that square and that intersection. And then there's one right here, and that one's in the middle too. Oh, and then we can pay attention to this one and this one too. So I right now have almost all of this mapped out on my page, where I can go through and be like, oh, this is where my circle goes in the center, right? Now, if I'm going back to drawing lines, this circle hits right here, right? And so it's right about here, and it hits right about here. Oh, that looks weirder. So there's the start of my bird. You see that? Now the next thing is, now I'm going to start adding some shapes, and the lines that I'm going to add, whoopsie, are right here and right here, just to smooth this stuff out. And then this one right there, right? And then we talked about, I have to turn this back the other way. We talked about this branch too, that goes right here. So that starts right about here and comes down to right about here. Right? Boy, he looks really fat. All right, so you notice that I put down a bunch more lines there. I can pick and choose which lines I like at this point too. Now, I'm gonna do this wing right here too. Oopsie, I'm erasing. I'm gonna do this wing right here. And this one's weird because it kind of runs off the page a little bit. Usually I do a better job of picking my pictures so that they don't run off the page. Right? Now, this is the part where I might want to, and that's what's nice about the computer, is I can always go back through and just start erasing my lines. Although these lines I like. because again, they help me position things. And this circle might be in a little bit of the wrong spot. But his beak starts to come right about here and ends right about there. He comes in here. So we start to get him lined up a little bit, right? Now I can go through, and since I used this orange and the bird is red, I can go back over what I did. And since I put a bunch of lines down on here, I can start to pick the lines that I want to use. And just by making those a little bit darker. And that's how I lay it out on my page, so I know where it's at. And now once I go back through here and figure out where I want everything to be, that's when I can start to get rid of some of those lines. And start to color over them, and they will just sort of disappear. There's my black down. So that's what we have going on here. And actually now at this point too, so I have this cut in half, and if I cut this part in half too, and this part in half too, I can even put those lines in. So what ends up happening is, like I said, all we have to do is correlate between here and the picture, and we can know where things are. Okay, so those lines go in there, and then it's like I can just work with those grids and figure out where everything is supposed to be. So now that